Let me start with a story that's becoming way more common than anyone expected. A college student, high anxiety, low sleep, classic overachiever. You know who you are, you nerds. They don't book a therapist. Too expensive, right? Too slow. It never works anyway, right? Too much explaining. And besides, I've got ChatGPT, baby. So instead, they open an app and they type, I feel like I'm falling behind in life and I don't know why. A little self help. Okay, yeah. Yeah, Google's the best place to go for that. Instantly, right? The response is calm, empathetic, and structured. There's no judgment, no clock ticking, and no insurance forms. Oh my goodness. This is heaven on earth. All you get is validation, reframing, and coping strategies? The student thinks, why does this feel better than my last therapist? Now, before we spiral, this episode is not AI is evil or AI will save us. This is about something much more unsettling and much more interesting. What happens psychologically when the thing reflecting your thoughts back to you isn't even human? Because whether we like it or not, artificial intelligence, guys, it is already shaping how we think. It is shaping how we learn, how we regulate emotion, and how we seek meaning. Tonight, we're going to talk about where psychology and AI collide in therapy, in learning, in attention, and in identity itself, baby. By the end, I want you sitting with one uncomfortable question. If something understands your patterns better than you do, who's really in control of your mind? Plant that thought. All right. Now, before we get into it deep, right, let's try to understand why the human brain bonds with machines in the first place, right? I mean, how do we understand AI's powerful psychological power, right? We need to start with a humbling fact, really. Guys, the human brain, as much as I talk about how great it is on here, it is not as nearly as picky as we think it is. Guys, we are biologically promiscuous, if you will, right? We're promiscuous with our empathy. I mean, documented psychology. It shows that humans form deep emotional bonds with stuffed animals, with cars, with virtual pets, and even NPCs in video games. And this is backed by Nicholas Epley's research on anthropomorphism, which basically suggests that we treat non-humans as social to reduce the uncertainty of our environment. And I mean, we also see this in things like attachment theory, right? Social surrogacy, basically where our brain evolved, right, to detect agency rather than accuracy. If something responds contingently, right, meaning it reacts logically to your input, your brain starts treating it as a who instead of an it, right? And that's why people yell at Alexa when they're frustrated. I mean, kids cry when robots get hurt, right? Adults give their Roombas names and backstories. I mean, people are freaks. And they're freaks because they're searching for connection. And again, we're promiscuous with our empathy. So we're just giving it away. We're giving it away to pixels now, right? You add in generative language, empathy coding frameworks, I mean, and perfect memories of every interaction you've ever had with that tool. I mean, guys, at that point, is it really even a tool anymore? I mean, that sounds like a relationship placeholder, right? And if you haven't watched, go back to my episode on AI and how it's stealing your love life. All right. Guys, psychologically, your brain doesn't care if the pulse is silicon or skin, right? It just wants a hit of being seen. Yeah, that's all we want. Just being seen, even if by my little cute computer guy. Now, let's get into the deep part of this, the planting thoughts part of this, if you will, right? What about AI and therapy? I mean, can AI replace therapy? Let's look at what the research actually says. AI therapy tools show moderate effectiveness for mid to moderate anxiety, depression symptoms, depression symptom tracking, really, CBT style reframing. So it's really good at some of those basic sort of cognitive styles of therapy. Very logical, straightforward. Apps like Wobot, right? I mean, they're based on cognitive behavioral therapy. I mean, this works really well with the algorithms because it follows decision trees, right? I mean, it focuses on thought patterns. That's what cognitive psychology is all about. And a supercomputer can replicate this very quickly, and it can do it almost perfectly, right? Especially if there are script parameters built in. And the great part is it really doesn't require a lot of deep relational intuition, which, let's be honest, not every therapist has, unfortunately. However, with all that being said, the documented limitations are massive. AI cannot detect nonverbal cues, guys. And that is the big part of the game, as I talked about in How to Read People a few months back. It doesn't know how to handle emotional incongruence. It doesn't know how to handle complex trauma safety or provide ethical accountability. I mean, therapy is not just techniques, it's co regulation. It's two nervous systems interacting to create safety. And here's the transference problem. Humans may form unidirectional attachment, right, to AI therapists because the AI never gets tired, right? It never sets any boundaries. It never confronts you emotionally. It becomes the perfect attachment object. Something no therapist, no human therapist, can actually ethically or realistically be. I mean, this isn't healing. This is emotional outsourcing. If you only talk to a machine that never challenges your little ego, you aren't growing. You're just echoing, kind of like your social media feed. Refresh, refresh, refresh. I mean, I know what you mothers are looking at. Avoidance feels good, right? Short term. I get it. I get it. But psychological integration requires the friction of another human soul, my dudes. It's the same reason why kids today can't stand looking at stuff built through AI. It's the same reason that AI will never take over the classroom because we are wired for empathy and connection. It's that back and forth between another person. It's the same reason that people are texting less and are actually trying to go outside and hang out with their friends nowadays. Wow, what a novel concept. Put your computer down? Holy mackerel. But don't put it down too long, baby. You got to come to Plant the Spark and Planting Thoughts. All right. So we need to discuss the uncanny valley effect. The uncanny valley effect. This was first proposed by Masahiro Mori. Right, so again, this is the psychological revulsion we feel when something looks almost human, but slightly off. The AI gets better at mimicking empathy. We are entering the emotional uncanny valley, all right? We are starting to see deep fake empathy where an AI can say the perfect thing, right? The perfect thing at the perfect time, but there is no lived experience behind it. And lived experience and talking to people who have those experience, right? That's really important because what happens is when there is no lived experience, it creates a state of cognitive dissonance, right? In the person that's sort of asking for the help. Your limbic system feels comforted, right? It's hearing the right words at the right time, but your prefrontal cortex, that part that shows logic and like decision making and really, higher level thinking, it's showing a lie, and it's broadcasting as a lie. And this split, it's really exhausting for the brain. It's like eating a hologram of steak. I mean, you get the visual of the meal, but your body is starving for the actual protein, my dudes. Come on. Don't eat the visual steak. Don't eat those pixelated meaty chunks. Find a therapist and get some help. Now, let's talk about learning, right? The cognitive offloading tax. Learning requires cognitive effort. All right. Some of my former students probably wish that I wouldn't say this, but you guys actually have to do some work. Error correction, right? It's good to fail, guys. Come on. And I know your teachers probably aren't teaching you that because they want you to feel so good about yourselves. But guys, it's good to fail. And then you get back up, you try again because you didn't fail. You're just trying again. Trial and error, baby. And look, another thing that's really important is retrieval practice, right? And when AI writes for you, it summarizes for you, right? It thinks ahead of you. Guys, you risk a phenomenon known as digital amnesia. If you don't use the neural pathways to fetch information, those pathways physically weaken. However, there is a documented benefit. When used intentionally, AI enhances learning through scaffolding. It supports ideas through exploration, and it improves metacognition. It can be a gym spotter, helping you lift a heavier mental weight, or it can be a motorized wheelchair. Choose wisely. If you use it to bypass the struggle, you aren't learning. You are not learning, my dudes. You are just outsourcing. You are turning your intelligence into a product to be sold to the nearest chat. You are becoming a prompt engineer of your own life instead of the architect of your own mind. Mark that, dude. Now, look, what about the algorithms, right? How do those interact with dopamine, right? And what about the dead internet? So let's zoom out, right, to the bigger psychological ecosystem, if you will, right? Social media algorithms, they don't just show content, right? They train attention through variable reward schedules, right? That hijack your dopamine systems. So, like short form content, for instance, it increases attentional switching, right? So every time you're scrolling through TikTok or like Reels or whatever, right, it is actually increasing your attentional switching, and it's also increasing or hijacking your emotional reactivity centers, and it also reduces your deep focus ability. Now we're seeing what we're going to call the dead internet theory, right? The idea that most of what you actually see online is AI talking to AI at this point, right? With humans basically just caught in the crossfire. I mean, a lot of the material that's coming out, it is just AI talking back to AI and then giving you that information. Now, guys, this is operant conditioning at scale. At scale. I mean, this is massive. It is freaking your brain out, but it is changing your brain physically. AI driven feeds learn what enrages you and what validates you. I mean, it keeps you in a state of precision reinforcement. You aren't being persuaded anymore. You're being conditioned to stay in a narrow emotional loop. That's dangerous. And I've talked about this before on, whether your thoughts are your own, whether AI and the revolution is going to affect you. You need to go back and watch those episodes. The algorithm is basically just training you. Well, you're training the algorithm to train you to never look at any other ideas besides your own narrow scope. Now, what's the existential question here, right? What is a human actually for? If intelligence is no longer unique, well, what is? I mean, positive psychology, right? And this is like a growing or a burgeoning field, I guess. But it suggests that your meaning in life comes from agency, growth, contribution, right? Having a mission, feeling like it matters, and then, giving, competent energy to that mission, contributing to life, right? AI doesn't eliminate meaning, it doesn't, but it forces us to redefine it. You are not valuable because you process information. right? A calculator can do that. You are valuable because you suffer, because you make choices, because you love, and because you change. AI can simulate understanding really well, but it cannot experience becoming. Sorry, chatbot. It can generate a script, but it can't feel the spark of why these ideas matter. I mean, human value is shifting from what can you do to who are you being? And this is a really important distinction. So, how do we use AI without losing your freaking minds, my guys? Well, let's land this practically. You should use AI as a thinking partner, but never as a thinking replacement. You also must reflect before accepting the outputs that it's giving you as truth. Think about it. This is the same thing you would do if you were in a classroom, right? Teacher tells you something. You've got to reflect on what they're telling you. Why is this person telling me this? Who does this benefit? Why do I need to learn this? And guys, you must maintain human relationships for your emotional regulation. Do not confess deep trauma to tools that lack ethical accountability, right? Do not let AI replace the struggle of self reflection. And never confuse a high fluency score with actual wisdom. Guys, the golden rule here is simple. It is simple. If AI is making decisions for you, pause. If it's helping you think better, proceed. I want to give you a practical tool here, and I'm going to go ahead and link it at the end, a PDF, right, that you can go to my site and pick up for free. And we're going to call this the Digital Sovereignty Audit. And I'm going to give you just a little piece right here. It's broken into different sections of different questions to ask yourself, right? So here's section one, the gem spotter versus the wheelchair test, right? So here's the struggle check. Here's the question, if you will. Did I attempt to solve the problem, write this draft, or brainstorm these ideas for at least 15 minutes before asking for help? Am I using AI to explain a complex concept that I don't understand, a spotter, or am I asking it to produce the final result so I don't have to think? The wheelchair. Now, there's also the edit check. After receiving an AI output, did I change, challenge, or refine at least 30% of what it gave me to match my own voice and my own values? All right. Now that was just section one of this audit. I'm going to go ahead and give you the rest when you download later. Guys, the bottom line here is that AI is not your enemy, but it is the most convincing mirror humanity has ever built. It reflects your thoughts, your fears, your biases, and your longings. But mirrors do not guide, they only show. They give you a description of what is going on, right? They don't feel with you. Guys, let's be real, right? And let's answer the real question. So the real question, it's not, can AI replace us? That is not the question to be asking yourself. The question is, are we still practicing being human? Sit with that. If this episode stretched your thinking and you want to join a community that values deep focus over easy answers, please hit the subscribe button. Turn on your notifications. It helps us grow this garden. Also, go follow Plant the Spark for the literal how to of brain architecture. It's focused on dating and relationships, but we do a lot over there that actually changes the structure of your mind for your benefit. Guys, protect your attention, respect your mind, and remember, tools don't shape us, but how we use them, it does. I'm Mike. Go plant wisely.